The WTO is a global international trade organization that develops international commerce rules and mediates trade disputes among its members. At its heart is the promotion of competition and liberalization of trades amongst its global members. However, as such, it is not immune to disputes and cries of unfairness. Meanwhile, trying to bridge the gap between the developed and the developing countries, as well as responding to the current global economic crisis, no doubt further add to the challenges of this world organization.
So what is the WTO doing in order to at least stabilize the global economy, the trade? Because if we're looking at what's happening in the Eurozone, and there are many Euro skeptics now, with what's happening in Greece and what's happening in Spain, the feeling is actually to have sort of less integration under the euro. Or there's a fear that perhaps this is not the right road to take, at least on the sort of popular or the political side of things.
What we do in WTO is one part of the international economy, which is making trade flow more easily. WTO is a trade facilitator. And why do we do that? Because WTO members agree that if trade flows better, this is good for everybody at the end of the day. Now, depending, of course, on domestic conditions, but overall it works. Now, WTO is not responsible for the regulation of the banking industry. That's not within our mission statement. WTO is not responsible for regulating the safety of toys or the quality of meat, which are things which are traded. This is done elsewhere in the international system. Our mission is not to regulate sectorally. Our mission is to make sure that whichever global regulation is adopted is done in a way that creates the right balance between facilitating trade on the one side and protecting things which need to be protected, like health or the environment or the risk level of a banking or an insurance.
Now, the global economic crisis is actually triggered by a financial crisis, particularly in the subprime in the US, and also the contagion effect in Europe. Now, it's a result of the world is getting smaller through all these globalization, the integration of trade and markets, and also of finance. Now, does the WTO sort of envisage that this global crisis is actually something that we should have prepared for? I mean, did it come as a surprise to you, really?
I'm not sure.
Because of financial crisis becoming an economic crisis, and because of that, it changes the sort of the mental outlook of the different countries that are becoming more.
I'm not sure I agree with the assumption behind your question, which is that this crisis was born because of too much integration.
At least financial sort of integration. Huh?
There has been integration, there has been globalization, but this is not the root of this crisis. The root of this crisis is insufficient regulation in one area of the economy, which was the most globalized, which was the financial industry. It is not a question of integration or opening, it's a question of regulation. Now, the best evidence of that is US-Canada. The US and the Canadian economy are totally integrated. They're totally open to each other. There's probably no place on this planet, apart from Europe, where economies are so tightly knitted with one another. Now, what happened in 07-08, explosion of the US financial system, nothing happened on the Canadian side. Why? not because of non-integration. They are, as I said, totally integrated, because on the one side of the border, financial industry was properly regulated. On the other side of the border, it wasn't regulated. So the question is not integration or globalization. It's taking place for many, many reasons. The problem is having a proper global regulation.
Particularly in the financial aspect.
And that's what's happening now in the financial industry.